Just one more time. Good morning. How's it going? As always, Nate Mumford, Director of Sales Engineering, and John Bonneau, Assistant GSelector Product Director. Whatever is higher, we'll say that one. John's joining us today for another installment of our RCS Live, and today we're going to talk about everything Christmas and holiday music scheduling. That's right. I had to go into my crawl space and dig out all my holiday stuff just for this. So in case you're wondering, Nate, it's a little too early for Christmas. I get it. I totally get it. I'm with you. We got Thanksgiving first, but unfortunately for us programmers, we're talking about holiday scheduling. So I had to, of course, be a little festive. John, of course, is looking very professional in his RCS.
I couldn't find my hat. I found my Christmas tree, but not my hat.
Fair enough. So, but don't worry. I'm sure when we get close to the holidays, we'll have probably more fun stuff coming up too. So I will give you another chance for wear your Christmas hat. So today we've got a lot of great stuff breaking down everything holiday scheduling. We'll get to that in just a second. Of course, my usual housekeeping. I love that pun. It never gets old. Let's see here. If you're working from home, we want to see your photos and give you some goodies. So if you're working from home, shoot us a direct message of a screenshot of you working from home, and we'll send you some goodies. We have a bunch of them that came through, which is great.
I've seen recently, Nate, I've seen like amazing pictures from people working from home, like from different rooms, like closet space, basement, laundry room. Guys, you're amazing out there.
Yeah, and I'm also very jealous whenever I see someone who's got like all those great different monitors in there. Yeah, I get very jealous. Beta users had a great response from last week's video. We of course have GSelector 490 with the clocks. John was there talking about that. I know some of you reached out for doing some beta user. We also have Zeta 520.1. Other users want to jump on board with that beta version as well. So if you are interested in a beta version, reach out to us, reach out to support. We'll put you in touch with the right people and get you on the latest and greatest, either GSelector or Zeta. Anything you want to comment, John, about the beta?
We're gonna be out really soon. We keep doing great job with testing. We're testing the version before, of course, goes out. I think it's gonna be an amazing version for 9, especially with the flex clocks. We're doing more and more testing, and actually, we do all sort of stuff. We're testing how far you can go. And so far, oh my God, you can do amazing things. We have been doing crazy things in testing areas. So we can't wait for you guys to pick the beta test version and let us know.
Yeah,
how you
absolutely.
like it.
So we got the beta, we got working from home. Of course, any of these videos are archived, just so you know, rcsworks.com/RCS-live. V is on here. I got my comments going as well. So if you have any questions regarding the holiday schedule, let us know. We are here to help. So let's dive right into this, John. So we got a lot of topics we want to cover in a short amount of time. So we're kind of going to move, just so you know, we're going to move a little fast here. So just in case you're like, ooh, what was that again? Obviously, this is going to be archived. You can go back and rewatch it. We just want to give you the tools of essentially what we're doing here. And as you can tell, John, to start off the bat, I had to go and go the Christmas skin theme here for my GSelector. It is quite blue, and the candy canes were a very, very nice touch.
And the snowflakes.
Yeah, oh, it's great. So I just had to talk to another client about another question he had, and I was sending him screenshots of my GSelector, and I'm like, hey, I know it's November. I have an RCS live. Just ignore the candy canes for right now. This is what you want to do. So let's first talk about essentially how you can design this. There's so many ways that you can design your GSelector and your holiday programming. The most traditional approach, of course, is the Christmas schedule sometime around, Black Friday. That's usually the norm these days. But of course, we do have users that are switching. I've seen some this week and all of that good stuff. So we're going to show you some different approaches. Just know that you can do any type of hybrid with this. So you can really do a whole bunch of stuff. You don't have to be pigeonholed to what we're talking about here. You can take some aspects of this and then apply it to your workflow. If you have any questions, if you want to know how to do something, reach out to support, direct message us, email us live@rcsworks.com. We'll point you in the right direction, let you know what's going on. So what I did on my end is I essentially isolated my Christmas station. But what you could do is have essentially a mixture between the think of it as a primary format and a secondary format. And the way that works is, remember, GSelector has inactive and active elements. The difference, of course, is that active elements are active in your library and can be scheduled, where inactive elements are in the background waiting to be played or waiting to be activated by you. Those can be found via advanced search. So, library, browse, advanced search, hit the plus on there, and you can see here there's active, true on the Christmas station. If I go ahead and just search this, you'll see we have the blue circle. Blue circle means that is active. If you hover over it, it will also say active as well. And if I change this to false, so show me all of the inactive elements for the Xmas station, you can see this is the rest of my library, and we have essentially a orange square, which is inactive. So the best practice is at some point in time when you're ready and you're comfortable to start working on your holiday station, we go in here and we essentially activate all of the Christmas music. And it's actually pretty simple. You can just go here and just go find categories, for example. So you can see categories equal X1 and then do another plus and say, and do an or and say the category equals X2 and so on and so forth. So you can start searching for this here and you can essentially find all of your elements and then go to, of course, the multi-song changer. I have 407 right here. If you notice, I go to the multi-song changer. I'm going to have 407 songs selected. That's a very important number to take a look at, right? You want to make sure that your browse right here is the same as your multi-song changer. Of course, I cleared that. That's why I went back to 0. So that's the first thing, right? Setting up your links, active and inactive links. So you want to keep your Christmas music or your holiday music inactive because GSelector is going to save performance by not taking those elements into account during the scheduling process. And John, did you want to elaborate on that? Because this is where we can go under the hood and talk about it.
Exactly. I would like to say, whatever you don't use in the GSelector in the long term, it's good to make it inactive. Don't forget, you're not losing anything. You're not losing properties, sound codes, anything. By keeping something inactive, actually you make your GS faster because each time you open a station, we calculate the demands. We don't forget we have the natural demands. We do a lot of calculation to make your life easier. So by having more and more inactive songs that you actually don't need as active, GSelector will take them as a consideration to do all the calculations. And I'm not going to say it's going to slow down, but trust me, you can increase your performance if you keep songs you don't use as inactive. And don't forget, you aren't losing anything,
Yes.
any data. You don't delete the songs, you just make them inactive for this specific station.
That's a great point. Yeah, you're not going to lose any data if they're just in the background versus the foreground.
And anytime you decide them to, I'm sorry, interrupting you.
Go, please.
The also important thing about inactive songs, some people asking, okay, I keep a schedule history of 1 year. What happened to history? History is still there. Even if a song is inactive, it's still part of the log. You can even add inactive songs in the log, by the way. You can even go and search for a song, an inactive song, and add it manually on the log. So some people think that inactive is deletion. No, it's not. It's just being hidden from the library and from the demand calculations. That's all.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here is first talk about kind of the working with different clocks, different grids, and then kind of apply that to essentially the actual scheduling aspect. So just very briefly, of course, we're in clocks and definition. I blew this out to isolate it for the Facebook Live. So this is just essentially one clock. You can see I have all my Christmas cuts here, blah, 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 blah. We're going to get to a great tip from John talking about station content and how you can schedule this pretty easily and efficiently. But I want to show you how you can essentially work on your clocks here. Don't forget about the save clock as duplicate function. So work smarter, not harder. Take one Christmas clock, expand it, and then, of course, you can make the changes for morning drive, afternoon, and all of that good stuff. If I have my assignment here, I have my one Christmas clock grid, but don't forget, I can always duplicate this grid. So, for example, I go to my definition, save this as, I'll call it Xmas 2, right? So this is my second Christmas clock. I can go to the assignment. Go ahead, John.
Maybe 2020, not 2012.
Oh, well, I took my old Christmas database. Yeah, from back in when I was a PD. And so what I can do here, and from the schedule, I can essentially take my grid, clone the grid as well. So we'll call this Xmas 2020 for John. And we'll save this. And you can see that we have essentially the old clock. And then depending on how you want to do this, you know, I can go and very simply, again, you might notice this is the old school, not the 490 clock structure, which is coming down the pipeline. I can change this to Xmas 2. And of course, you can see there, I can start playing with this grid. And I can save this. Now, just because I have all these things here, right, it doesn't mean I'm actually in the schedule itself. For that, I can go over here to the schedule. So clocks, assignment, grids, schedule. And I have two options, the default rotation and the dates. What I like to do, and John, feel free if you have another way that you like to do it. I go in here and I essentially say hit the plus, and I
My
say
favorite.
from 11:25, whoever the Black Friday is this year, to essentially 12:20. Usually it's the Christmas day is that hit or miss, right? Are you doing essentially going to Christmas until 5 p.m. and switching back to music? So usually there's a third grid in here to kind of have that hybrid model, so to speak. But for right now, I'll just say Christmas. I'll pick my Xmas 2020 grid, hit OK, and you can see there's an override there as well. You know what? Just thinking about this, John, off the top of my head, I would keep that grid the same. And then I would do probably just I'll save this. I'll probably do a clock override, actually. Let's just say at 7 p.m. on Christmas Day, I want to return back to normal music. Rather than playing with that third clock structure, I probably would just go here and I would just pick the clock override, go back to my traditional clock. So from 11:25 or so on 12:25 at 7 p.m., I would just change the clock override and do that. Keep it
Exactly.
easy.
So you don't need to change the whole grid, of
Yeah.
course.
But the beauty about that is that you can see here that I am operating normally, but I have anticipation. GSelector is queued up, ready to go. But of course, that begs the question before we get to the scheduling portion. Anything you want to mention about grids and clocks, John?
I just would say that if you had the 490 installed here, we can even play more and say that some stations would like to play like the first half of the hour would like to have it Christmas and the other half regular using the new flex clocks. You could do that in
That's a
490.
great point. Yeah. So you can definitely do kind of isolate those, so to speak.
Yeah, an
But
isolated Christmas program.
yeah. By the way, Panos and Anita, thank you for checking in, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to elaborate more on this too, just let me know. I have the comments open and all that good stuff. So thank you for checking in. So of course, just a reminder, we assign the clocks. We assign those clocks to a grid, and then the grid has a part of a definition, which has a schedule associated with it. That schedule has a default rotation with override dates associated with it. So when you're looking at this, the kind of visually, so to speak, looking down these tabs, that's what we're doing here. We're essentially taking a date, adding it to a schedule. That's part of a grid. That's part of assignment. That's part of our clocks, right? Kind of that hierarchy. So now we're talking about essentially what can I do? Because obviously I'm not scheduling my Christmas music yet. So what can I do to start looking at it and start, properly looking at my rotations and my spins and all of that good stuff. However, maintaining that Christmas grid. So you can see this is where that day part at the top, but now we have that grid option. Here's where you can go and essentially say, okay, this is my normal default grid, but I need to start working on my Christmas 2020 grid. And when I click that, that then allows me to essentially go and work in that environment simultaneously as I'm working or scheduling rather, in my regular format. So you want to do here is, again, your day part, but specifically your grid drop down. You want to change that. And then, of course, at this point in time, it's kind of business as usual for that grid. So I just want to first show, I have the traditional, I guess we always joke around with John and I, the kind of the US approach where, one category group for one category. And I have essentially everything here all laid out with my elements and, essentially first tier, second tier, third tier. I build them in clocks and I'm all good to go. But I wanted to showcase something here that John was talking about, which is a very cool and simple way to schedule your Christmas logs. And by the way, when we describe this too, you can still incorporate, a lot of different attributes here as well. This is just a very clean approach that you could essentially achieve. And so, John, if you want to talk about it, I'll drive for you and you can kind of point out.
Sure.
But go ahead. I have station content here. So
Sure. You can use the content actually to control several parts of the scheduling. So the biggest question programmers have out there, because don't forget that we are RCS, we used to be programmers and we are really involved in all this situation. We had the same questions as you do out there. That's why we are good developing stuff at RCS. How I separate my power, my secondary songs, and let's say the fillers, the one we use just to fill the hour. So yeah, one of the approaches we have, it's use like separate categories. Probably you can just use the categories to separate even the year, or you can just use one category, just call it Christmas and don't do anything else. Then you can go to station content, which is shown here. You have the power songs. You say which songs are power. You can say which is secondary and filler. The way to add the content, it's very easy. You do it from the library. If you open the song card of a song, you can go back, Nate, to the library,
Mm-hmm.
browse, open a song.
So let me show you here what I have. I'll just pick the filler, for
Yeah,
example.
you can do it even from the inline edit. You can add the
Good point.
information,
Let's do that, John.
or
Hold on, I'll go back here.
yeah,
Let me add the content field. So right click, modify columns. Going down here to I have station content. Put that in there. So that is the very first line. And again, I can go here, expand this. As John was saying, interactive scheduler, inline edit. It's also a space bar. I could change this from filler, put it to essentially power, uncheck it, hit OK. And then that's going to save all my work. And then I would turn off inline editing or control spacebar.
Exactly. The second way, of course, to do it through the song card. I don't think we need to do this. Yeah, okay, you can get inside.
Yeah, might as well. It's right over here on the right-hand side.
Exactly. So you can set the content. Don't forget, you can have as many station contents as you want. There is no limitation. That's some people ask, can I have only one content? No, you can have as many as you want. We're gonna do the work correctly. So then you can go to goals, because content is still a good attribute. So you can go to the goals, and of course we have the typical settings. We have the shift. You can go and shift up and down whatever you want. I always suggest try to go in the positive shift rather than negative. It's better way of thinking in terms of scheduling. It's gonna make you think easier. And of course you can go and give max per hour. You can say, guys, I want to have only 3 fillers per hour because I don't want to spend more. And if you want to restrict it more, you can say that the filler songs, they're going to have a 15-minute separation. And in this way, you can draw a red line. So you can just want to make sure that it's not going to play a filler back to back. Mm-hmm. That's one approach of doing all this matching, Nate. The other approach we have, it's the absolute count or percentage per hour or per day, or actually per whatever you want. So if you go under goals, mm-hmm, and content, this is the nice tab we have there. You can go on the right, content. Yeah. Here you can play way more. Here you can do way more magic. For example, let's say that my Christmas power, I'm going to choose my Christmas power here.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm going to use my whole days. And let's say I'm going to play around on my overnight day part from 12 a.m., let's say, Nate, to 6 a.m. 6 a.m. European.
I got you.
So here we have 3 options. This is really, really powerful, guys. The first option is to give a count. That means I want to have like 100 power songs there. You can give an absolute number. The other most typical is the count percentage. I want to say that from the whole scheduled songs, like between 12 and 6, during those 6 hours, let's say I'm going to have 50 song schedules. From those 50 songs, I can go and define here that the 30% of those songs are going to be power. Or then I have the other option, which is way, way more powerful. I can have the time percentage. So I can say that from the 6 hours of music, I want to have 30% of the 6 hours of music, 30% of this is going to be like power. Also, it's amazing that you can have a minimum content and maximum content, so you can give the system some space. I advise here, Nate, that we never give an absolute number. I know some people trying to say 40. You need always to give, if you, I don't know, maybe you have a huge library, but most of the case, because your universe and the library is small, I always advise give a reasonable number, like between 20 and 40.
So that would be, so the minimum content would be 20 and the max would be 40?
Yeah, let's do that.
So essentially you're saying that roughly in here, if we want a target range of 30, so we want essentially of the time of the day, between midnight and 6 a.m., we want 30% of the songs has got to be a Christmas power attribute.
Exactly.
And then,
you want,
go ahead.
If you want to make it more precisely, you can also do it hour by hour. I know it's going to take a few clicks more, but in this way, you can control it better. So you can say start time 12 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and goes on. So you can create a content condition for each hour. Mm-hmm. And of course, this condition, this percentage condition, together with the balance, the shift, and the max per hour, trust me, it can give you the best Christmas results. And the most important, it can be unpredicted results. what people always complain, oh my god, my listener can always guess what kind of song is going to play before my spot block. Of course, because it's a specific clock, or I know other people go create 200 clocks. This is going to give you the feeling of variety.
Hmm. I have another client, by the way. I'm just talking to them right now about they have essentially a power attribute, and they want to go and say that all of these attribute songs, I want them to play a minimum of, let's say, 8 hours or turn over, whatever it is. You can do some of this with the count, right? In theory, say like if I'm a count from these hours, I can do a rough percentage of those and all that good stuff.
The count actually, the absolute count is used. It's actually the absolute count. So
Okay.
if you do that, you have to be really careful with the math,
Okay.
because the count means is that how many, I'm sorry, how many times this specific content is gonna be played during this time. So yeah, you can, for example, I know someone's doing that with links.
Hmm.
Said I have content link. He has like 5 different contents: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Link 1, link 2, link 3, link 4, link 5, and says link 1 should play at least 8 to 10 times a day. Link
Hmm.
2 should play 8 to 10 times a
Hmm.
day. So this can give some more freedom in scheduling instead of using the hour restriction or anything like that, or
Yeah,
actually
absolutely.
even using. Yeah, so the idea can work pretty easy, Nate, in this
Nice.
case.
And so again, this is goals, content. You have to first establish the content itself, right? And then from there, you can. It's really what you want to do, days of the week. And I guess the good example here for the start time and end time. If I pick a 24-hour range, and I do, let's say you were saying beforehand about time percentage, right? But 30% of the time we want to have this attribute Xmas power play. In theory, if I did just 24/7, let's pretend we had the morning show, right? And let's
Mhm.
say you have a talk morning show, there's only really 6 songs per hour versus the 14 for the midday shift. That percentage comes into play, right? And
Of
so
course.
that's kind of why, if you wanted truly more control, you might want to go and do something like the hour by hour breakdown or even day part by day
Exactly.
part breakdown.
The 24/7, the 24 hours is mostly used for people that they want to control something more during the day. I'll give a very quick example here
Mhm.
because we're talking about Christmas format, so I don't want to
Yeah.
derail the discussion. But for example, in Europe, like in France or Slovenia, there are some rules. They say 30% of your music should be in French language.
Hmm.
So in this
Similar
case,
with
you can
Canada. Yep.
say that I'm saying like 24/7, great. Give me 30% of French language content, and the system is going to do everything automatically.
Yeah. And that's
Also,
the good example of, John, of why you'd want a hard minimum content and maximum content, because there's a legal reason for it, especially with those CanCon reports over in Canada too.
yeah.
Um, but of course, if you're doing generic holiday scheduling, the reason we have this as 20 and 40 is, remember, don't forget, you want to give GSelector the flexibility to see
Hmm.
the big picture, right? You want to give them peripheral vision. You don't want to just very keep it, small and narrow. So if you want
Exactly.
30%, give it 20, give it 40. So it has some flexibility to say, if I get into a jam, because it's all really based on your library, let's be honest. And you know that your library is very weighted
Hmm.
based on the elements that test well. A lot of
Exactly.
Mariah Carey's during Christmas time. It's just the fact. It's just what it is. And Bing Crosby and all of that stuff. And so obviously, when you go to G Selector and say, here's 400 songs, but these like 15 or 25, like the old classic hits K Earth model, you can just bang the powers and then go from there. Obviously, that's a very weighted and biased library.
Exactly.
It's just a fact. So what you can do is, by giving it some flexibility, you're allowing G Selector to continue to operate as normal with that weighted category.
We need to make a statement here, Nate. We need to say
Mhm.
that the content rule, some people are asking because we had this question in support in the past. The content rule is not actually an unbreakable rule. It's not a rule, actually, it's a goal. That
Mhm.
means the content will never go and unschedule your positions in order to make the content rule work. It's still a goal. That means it will never leave you unscheduled positions in this case.
And remind me, that's there is an actual content in here, correct?
Yeah, we have a spread content. You can use all. It's good also to use a spread content because this will help you spread the content through the day
Where's
and through the past days.
Do I have it already in here?
Station content down,
Thank
down
you.
and
Station
see.
content. Thank you. There we go. Perfect.
Yeah, here you are.
And then you'll
And
see.
also, you could always split the linear and radial. This is something we should probably talk in the future about that.
Mhm.
So you can control. if your goal wants, if you want to spread the content within the day or within the previous days, within the week, let's say.
Yeah,
But this
I personally just I love this. Is it remind me if it's miscellaneous or is it advanced? To
is
remember
in
the
advanced.
advanced. Thank you. I always like
Correct.
the there's separate linear and radial priorities, but me personally, I always do the separate segue band priorities. That's
I love it too.
huge. I highly recommend that. So in case you're watching this, difference between that is very simply put, if I'm going to have, let's say, I don't want to play two rock records back to back, or if you're on a top 40 station, two pop records back to back. That's okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's okay. But if I play a pop record into a pop record into a pop record, that's a big no no. So what you can do is when you
Exactly.
separate the band priorities, you can put the pop into a pop as a breakable rule and a pop, pop, pop as an unbreakable rule.
I
Highly
think
like
this
it.
should be another Facebook Live.
Yeah, I know
Nate,
what you mean.
talk about
Um,
priorities.
So anyway, great tip there, John, for the station content. Just so you know, I have station content because under my setup, and I think it's nope, features and attributes. I have these set to station, so that's why they're called station content versus just
Not global.
content.
Yeah.
So, just in case you have your library you're looking at and you're like, I can't find station content, it's probably just content, and you see here it's a global setting. That's not a right or wrong answer. It just depends on your situation. Obviously, if you have, let's say, 10 radio stations in your database, you probably want those station specific. But if it's just you by yourself and it's just one station, it's not going to make a difference if it's global or if it's station.
It's still, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but still
Go ahead.
depends if you want to share the attributes or not, because there are big groups that they have like 30 stations, but they want to share the attributes. So it's really about your environment. If you have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to our support.
Yeah.
They're
Very
gonna help
simply
you
put,
decide.
if you're Carrie Underwood, your vocal is always a female. That's never going to change. So
Exactly.
sometimes you just make that a global attribute. So vocal is global just because it's easier.
Yeah, but it
Okay,
really depends on the structure. Yeah.
absolutely. So that's a great tip for the rule scheduling in there. And of course, don't forget you always have the priority list. So if you want just a Christmas only, you can always take your default grid, copy it, and call this Christmas. And then now we can go and there's that segue band I talked about earlier. I forgot that I had some enabled here. And then from there, I can just start. Usually we blow these out. It's kind of I treat Christmas kind of like links where I like to clean slate and then I start building from there. And the biggest thing, by the way, is now we can talk about the difference between either a rule or a goal, but essentially the difference between spread song versus spread title. And I always use Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer example, but John, if you wanted to use one of yours, we can talk about that.
I would use spread title in this case. It makes things easier. But another tip I can give to the holiday programmers: start packing your songs. This is gonna make your life way easier and gonna prevent from mistakes. So,
Start
for
what? Start say
example,
again. What your songs?
start packing. Add your songs in a packet.
Packing. Okay, packeting. Okay.
Yeah, packeting your songs. I'm sorry, not packing, packeting. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for that.
Nope. All good. I got
For
you.
example, we have three versions. Do they know it's Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Or many the same song from different artists. My advice on that is always use a packet. Put all in one packet, so you can be sure that the song is rotated correctly, and you don't have to deal with the same song, the same hour, or the song playing back to back in this case.
Absolutely. And so, like again, if you have and I'm trying to find a quick little packet here to show you. But if I do have a packet, don't forget you have the spins on the ratio there. So in case you are, I'm going to use an example here of Adele only because it's one of my classic packeting examples. I'll just do a little test here, give it a call a test and spins and hit OK. And I can do two songs here. So I'll just give this a test on this one, and then I'll just save it, go to the next one very quickly, and just kind of create a packet to show you. Think of Adele, right? And think of the singles that she had. So if I go over here, let me just save this. So I have the two, and now I can go here and show you exactly what I'm talking about. Great. So when you think of Adele and all the singles she has. So obviously, Chasing Pavements is an early Adele song, nowhere near as powerful as Rolling in the Deep, and so on and so forth. So the question becomes, okay, when you have a packet, I have equal rotations. Do I want to essentially have Chasing Pavements play the same as Rolling in the Deep? Do you? I mean, it's really a rhetorical question, but the answer should be probably no. You want to give the other Adele songs a little extra love, and that's why we have the target here. So you can do spins, you can do the share. Anything in particular you care about in regards to packeting, John, for
I
best
like more the
practices?
share in this case. I like way more the share. So I like your example with Adele, but if you go back on the example of the Christmas song that I have three titles, there is always the main title we like more. There is the main artist that we want to play more. So in this case, you can also go and define which is the main. You can see the first column says you which is the main. So which is your main song in this case, and usually I do the target. So usually, for example, from the Band-Aid, when we have the Do Know It's Christmas, I have three versions. I always want to play the first version, the original one, more. So I usually do it like three, and then I give one to the other two to make sure that this one plays more. Packet is a very good trick for the Christmas music, Nate. We have so many songs, like with so many covers. With this gonna help programmers a lot out there and give
Very
them less
interesting.
headache.
Yeah. So, and by the way, Manos saying good morning from Greece, by the way.
Hello,
Um,
Manos.
And so yeah, so essentially that's a great tip because, and this is to show you there's so many ways you can do this in GSelector. We never try to pigeonhole you into one certain workflow. I've always said here, I'm a big control person. I do a lot of tedious, smaller things, whereas John is a great counter to that because he's a lot more kind of one category and then you spread it across. It's a great kind of yin and yang in the theory of how we can demonstrate this. And again, there's no right or wrong method to doing it. And
Exactly.
as John's point, when you do have these packets, once you create it, you can set it and forget it. Like those are part of the
Exactly.
packets. When they're deactivated and reactivated, they're fine. You're going to have those packets still in there. So what John is hinting to is in the scheduling process is when I go to schedule a position, I am scheduling that position as have yourself a Merry Christmas, right? That's the position. And then from there, he picks which one of those based on the packet is going to play. Just very briefly, the way that I usually do it, just because I have kind of a floating Christmas holiday structure, and for me, it's very much a holiday's always crazy anyway as a programmer. So I like to kind of get in and get out as quick as I can. The difference there between, of course, is just song versus title. If I'm Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, I want to make sure that that gets spread across equally. But what I do is I have kind of a Christmas powers, Christmas secondary, and Christmas filler. And so obviously the powers there, I want the pretenders, have yourself a Merry Christmas. I want to bang that out as much as I can. And so I can do a spread title on there. I can do a title minimum separation. And the difference, of course, is if I'm Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, I spread the title on that versus the song, maybe Boys to Men, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's the difference between there. But very interesting. That packet idea is really cool, John. I really like that. That's a very interesting approach on there because if it's got a packet, that's a great thing. Because you know what, too? Just, here's a gotcha, by the way. And we all know we inherit databases and weird things happen. A great gotcha is double check the naming structure of your music. And you know what, John? The packeting is a great way to avoid that issue. Very simply
Exactly.
put, have yourself a Merry Christmas or have yourself a Merry Little Christmas could be two separate songs technically. And
Exactly. It happens.
if I have my approach to title, I'm going to see that and go, "Oh, wait a second, that's not right." Whereas in your packet approach, these are the same songs and you're scheduling them accordingly. So that's a great reference there. Awesome. I was waiting for you to chime in there. Great. So let's see here. We talked about the powers, the scheduling. Let's briefly talk about, by the way, if you're not doing a Christmas holiday, but at the end of the year, you have any type of year-end countdown, top of the, sorry, I'm trying to think of the thing here, the A to Z weekend, year in review, top 100, whatever that may be. There's a great simple way of doing this, and I'm going to keep this very brief. And if you need us to elaborate, again, call support, email us. We'll be glad to help you as well. The concept is very simple. I like using the browse list. It's just easy to drag and drop my elements. I can essentially go here and sort by title or by artist. So if I'm doing like an A to Z weekend, I might take these elements here. I'm going to use my Christmas library, but of course, we're talking about year-end countdown with your primary format. I can just take these elements, drag them over here. I can save these elements in a browse list. I'll just call this RCS live. And then once I have these isolated, I can go over here to my browse list. You can see there's RCS live. Yes, I know I'm moving fast for time purposes. And you can see here that I have my A to Z. This is how I want them to play in order or whatever it is. And once I have this, right, I have that browse list, right? So I can play these in order, A to Z. You can see there's a little red icon there. That's because that's where I want it to start. I'm just double clicking on there. And that's my first one. You can see what I want to do with my list when it's done, what direction I want to go in, forward or backward, and some options here for the counter as well. But very simply put, if you're just doing a countdown, use the library here to talk about that countdown or to filter by the countdown of your desired attribute. Highlight them over. You can tweak here. So, for example, if I don't want this promo, whatever reason, I can just delete that promo, right? And then I can save this again, and I can play this browse list as is. Or I can go over here if I want more of a less structured 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want more of a theme, right? I can go here. Again, 21 songs, multi-song changer, 21 songs. I can go to the attributes here, hit the plus, edit, go to my station theme. I can create a brand new one. Oh, look, I got holiday songs already in there. I can just go ahead and just use that, for example. Close that, save it, hit save. I'm making mass changes. I'm aware of that. And of course, with that mass change, by the way, John, you could, in theory, also, let's just say you wanted a floating position. If you're teasing Christmas holidays, you could, in theory, schedule a theme Christmas. Now, granted, you're not going to get that weight, but if you do have packets, you could weight the power songs in those packets. And at that point in time, I can go back to my clocks, and now I have the structure here. If I just double click a clock itself, or again, go to the definitions, I have now my drop down. I have two choices. I can do that same browse list, right? That same browse list. And again, you can see I have RCS live, but this could be a year-end countdown. It could be A to Z, all of that good stuff. The idea is that the browse list is going to play in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the rule set, if you have it continue or end at the very end of it. At that point in time, if I don't want the browse list, I can just do a theme, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Theme song, and there's my holiday songs. And just pick every position is going to be holiday songs in here, and it's going to rotate accordingly. And then, of course, if I really want to, I'll just save this for right now. I can always I was going to see. The other example I was going to give there, I just lost it. I got distracted by. You can also do a rolling clock if you really wanted to. If you have, let's say, talking about those powers, you could really do a rolling clock. So,
yeah.
Essentially, a rolling clock would just be. I'm going to just I'll just create a brand new one and call this Rolling Xmas. I can go in here and essentially pick theme song, holiday songs, or I can do essentially a song category group and do, of course, the Christmas cuts one. Maybe you do like a 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3. That's how I did it. And with the rolling clocks, of course, it will go in order and rotate. So if you wanted things to not come up exactly as is, so you don't want, let's say, the top of the hour always to play a primary Christmas, you could use the rolling clocks to rotate that if you wanted to. So some really cool stuff there in regards to, how you schedule a theme, a rolling grid. And again, the browse list idea is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the theme is more of use the priority list, right?
Yeah.
So in the goals and priority list, we do have under the assignment, there is a theme song right here. It applies for everybody, for all themes. But if you have just a Christmas, you might just, isolate your Christmas there on theme songs. So that's a great tool for you too. The biggest thing I will say, if I'm in the library and I'm working with browse lists, right? I just want to let me go back and reset this. So the biggest thing is identify the attribute you care about, right? That could be a lot of different things, but there's also total spins in here. There's ways of kind of isolating certain elements in a browse list. So the idea here is identify your attribute that you care about, and then take that and then go to the multi-song changer in the browse list. And you can, of course, either A, schedule it as a browse list, or B, schedule it as a theme song in there too.
Exactly.
Anything you want to add to that, John?
I like to use the browse list on the countdown on the year. Usually we do like a top 5 of the year. It plays just before the New Year's Eve. I really like the concept of the browse list in this case.
Yeah. Now
It's
you
like
could
a chart maker.
Yeah, you could, talking about how to repeat that schedule now, right? Because usually the idea, especially for me, that week of Christmas and New Year's, I try to honestly give myself a break programming and just try to find my best way of taking like a 4 hour block of like best ofs and just schedule them at random times throughout the day, and then I fill in the blanks. So what you could do is under clocks assignment overrides. You can now go to the individual clock and override it. That's your choice. I, again, as I said beforehand, I'm a little more tedious. I like control. I'm a visual person. I usually like to
You're a
go.
control freak.
I know, yeah. I take my music scheduling very seriously. I like to go create a grid. That's just me. And I like to go there and say, okay, I know for a fact that for the next week, these elements here, these elements here, these clocks, and I can visualize a 24/7 grid of how I'm playing my best of year-end countdowns, A to Z weekends, theme songs, whatever it may be. I like doing that method. You can, of course, do the clock override as well. There's also options to copy and paste it if you want to do that way too.
Of course.
You can go to the
Last year.
yeah, you can go to the scheduler, go to the copy schedule, and again, you can see here, I would just pick the date range. You'll notice there's no second date range on the target, and that's only because if I say this is only a 3 hour clock, I'm only going to repeat it 3 hours.
Exactly.
I'm not going to change that. So just in case you're worried, this is grayed out for a reason. And of course, you have your source station here. You have what to exclude, yay or nay, and the categories in there. And of course, you can pick the same station. You don't have to go and worry about picking other stations. It could just be the same one.
Actually, this is a good idea, Nate. Some people out there, they like to have a specific station for Christmas. Maybe they run this as a web station, as a web stream during the whole year. And they say, you know what, I'm going to use only like Christmas for 2-3 days. In this case, I can just copy the log from the Christmas web radio to the main channel in this case.
Great point. I can go over here, go to my RCS target.
Exactly.
And by the way, the I'm trying to think of the sales aspect here. This would be an off-air license, so that should be totally fine for you. And in case you get into any issues, you reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you out there. We also have a lot of clients, by the way, John, who want to have their HD split off. So it's very common right now for users to say, there's an FM and there's an HD, and we're going to split them so the FM will maintain the normal format. The HD will go and start playing Christmas music. So either it's online only station or an HD2 station, whatever it may be. And at that point in time, starting on like Black Friday, they'll flip it, right? So they'll have the Christmas will be on the primary, and essentially the old regular format will be on the HD. We can do that too, by the way, just so you know. There's some little...
We can do many, many things.
We can do many things. Absolutely.
Because you know how my brain is, like ideas goes like that all day.
I love it. That's why you're here.
Yeah, that's why I work for RCS. I just, because, I used to be quite, not lazy PD, but I had too many things to do. So I always try to find the easy ways. One night's feature we coded not long time ago, because I remember we talked about title or song in the priorities. If you feel yourself really not lazy, but you're running out of time and you don't have a time to check the titles and make packets and change the priorities, I want you to go quickly to setup, please. Station features. Mm-hmm. Station features. You can go on the attributes and down. You see song identification. Here you can say to the system will understand a song as a unique. So far, actually, let me go back and say that. In GSelector world, always one song was one internal ID. So if I had the song 2-3 times, still it's 3 different songs. Even if it had the same artist, same title, it could be different song. This actually in any software in the world, only if you use title separation. So what we did to make your life easier, now we can say that if the song has the same artist and title, it's still the same song. Mm-hmm. So in case of Christmas programming, if you have at any point same artist and title, your software can go and do the matching and says, you know what, this is the same song.
Yeah. And by the way, that's a great point. It's a subtle new feature that we absolutely love. If you have 2 versions of the same song, the biggest example I've seen is with a built-in intro and a non-built-in intro.
Yeah.
So what you do is you essentially say the title and artist are the same, but the version is where you put built in, so you can see it in the display. But GSelector treats those as the same exact thing. And the biggest thing is the history of the spins. So even though I have a built-in new music intro, it's going to show and display in the history window identical to that of the regular version.
Without having to do a packet in this case.
Yeah. Also, in that example too, it's if you have a song with a 0-second intro, obviously very tough to talk into as a talent. So a lot of times they'll have a special voiceover intro. So they'll take a song with 0 seconds and add an 8-second music bed ahead of time. Obviously, you can create a segue band in there that says don't play this element next to a live link, which is treated as a voice track and all that good stuff. We can go down the road pretty good in there, but just know that's a great tool. The artist, title, song identification, setup, station, features, attributes, very bottom.
I think if you and I will keep talking, the Facebook Live is gonna end up being like 10 hours, right?
John, the beauty is that everybody I have on here always says the same exact thing. We can go on and on and on for days about this stuff if you wanted to. So that's a great stopping point, I think. So I'll get last minute questions for everybody. Again, Martha, thank you for checking in. I saw that Neil checked in as well. And Manos, thank you for coming too. So if you have any questions, any of that stuff, if you're watching this video after it's live, of course, you can always comment. I usually spend kind of an hour or so after these Facebook Lives answering comments and direct messages. So if you're seeing this and you're curious, let us know. Don't forget about beta users as well. If you want to beta test the 490 GSelector, which is the cool new clock feature, you can do that as well. Of course, Zeta 520.1, you can do that too. So last round for questions. V, of course, loving getting ready for the holidays. Pause, V. You got to go Thanksgiving first. Don't be like me and be all dressed up in Christmas holiday sweaters. All right, John, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. We got some great stuff lined up. As always, you can archive this video at rcsworks.com/rcs-live. All of our high-quality videos are there, or you break them down by product here on Facebook as well. So, hey, John, happy Thanksgiving. I know I will.
Thanksgiving.
We've got some time here. But thank you so much. We'll talk to everybody next Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's our RCS Live series. Thank you so much. Bye, John.